Hello, NBA fans, and welcome back to another episode of the NBA The Week That Was. Today, we have a different episode. We're continuing the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly series. However, we have a guest on the show with us today. His name is Mikhail, and he's a Bulls fan. Say hi, Mikhail. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mikhail Cosme. I'm a sophomore going into my junior year at Singapore American School, and I've known Raghav since sixth grade.
Thanks for helping me out today, Mikhail. So, today we'll continue with the Good, the Bad, the Ugly series with the Chicago Bulls. As I said, Mikhail's a Bulls fan, so let's see what he thinks, how the Bulls did this year. So, you want to start? Any opinions on the Bulls this year?
Well, one thing that I think that they did right this year was during the draft, they pulled the steal with Kobe White.
Definitely.
But overall, I wasn't too surprised with their performance, especially with them not having such a well-rounded lineup yet. But I think that it's good progress. Last year, they were at the bottom of the Eastern Conference and the bottom of the league overall, and now they're the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference, which is only like 3 seeds away from the playoffs. And I think if they move their pieces the right way, then I think they can be a eighth or seventh seed next season.
Definitely. I actually especially agree with Kobe White. He's a great scorer. Like I didn't expect him to play the way he did this year. And overall the Bulls have solid talent. However, they just need to be guided in the right direction. Like I really like Laurie Markkinen. Do you like
Yeah, I agree. I think that their young core is super solid here. I feel like they could trade a bunch of their assets, except for these four players I wrote down:
Mhm.
Wendell Carter Jr., Zach LaVine, Laurie Markkinen, and Kobe White. I think
Definitely.
those four are really solid and really key players to the team.
Mhm.
I think that they can develop Wendell Carter and Kobe White even more. And Laurie Markkinen has already been playing really well, and Zach LaVine should have been an All-Star this year, in my opinion.
He got snubbed. He's
He
really
did.
got snubbed. But the thing is, like, I feel that the Bulls have a solid front court with Wendell Carter and Laurie Markkinen for at least the next 10 years because Wendell's really good on defense. Markkinen's a great scorer. And Zach LaVine's a great scorer as well. He's a good, like, number one option. Kobe White, I see him honestly because of his, like, he's a streak scorer, I feel. He doesn't, like, on his night, he'll give you, like, 30 points even off the bench. So if they can get, like, in this year's draft, I think what pick will they have? Like, the fifth pick?
So I looked at the mock draft. I actually have it up right now. So it says that they have the seventh pick in the first round, drafting Big O, who used to play for Chino Hills and USC,
Mhm.
and they have the 47th pick,
Mhm.
and they're drafting someone who I don't know. I think that I don't know how many more big men they need.
Mhm.
I think that there are more small forwards and shooting guards who they can pick up to kind of. I think that they should definitely pick up a perimeter shooter, similar to someone like Cam Reddish,
Mhm.
especially because Cam Reddish is a player who can score with the ball in his hands and just being on the side and just catching and shooting.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they should draft Big O, especially with the front court who they have, Markkinen and Carter Jr. But I think that if they do end up with the seventh pick, I think that there are many other options who they should take instead.
Mhm.
Not knocking off Big O, he's a great player, but I don't think he'll fit the team.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, they have the front court for the future. However, obviously, I think if they can trade like Otto Porter, I feel he's expendable for you guys, and other one like an asset here or there. If they can trade up to like the fourth or fifth pick, Lamelo, you never know, Lamelo might fall. I think
I
Lamelo would be a perfect fit for the Bulls
I
because
agree.
he would be the if Kobe White off the bench, he would be the starting point guard, facilitate the offense and then if they need scoring, Levine, Lamelo, and Kobe White on the floor at the same time. Because Lamelo's 6'7", he can handle. If they can develop him defensively, that would be a scary offense, really scary.
That yeah. I don't. I think it's. I think. I don't think so. Over here on the mock draft, it says that Lamelo will be taken third.
Hmm.
I'm kind of iffy about that one, especially because I'm not because of how he plays. I feel like it's because college scouts still don't see what the rest of the fans see in him, and I think that they won't. I hope he goes top three, but I don't think he'll go top three just because of his defensive liability.
Hmm.
Even though he played really well in Australia this last year, I think that if he stepped up his defensive ability while during this lockdown, because I know he has a gym at home, I feel like if he steps it up, then he's going to be. I think he's going to make a strong case for Rookie of the Year, be neck and neck with Anthony Edwards, just like Trae Young and Luka Doncic did last season.
Mhm.
And I feel like Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball are headlining this year's draft.
I completely agree because especially with the fact that I think it's Minnesota, Cleveland, Warriors, and the Hawks. Like not in that order, but they're the people with the top 4 pick. The Warriors aren't going to take LaMelo. I feel they would want to go with like Big O or Anthony Edwards or something. I don't think they're going to go with LaMelo just because of I don't know. I think it would be a great fit, but I don't think it's going to happen. Then Minnesota already has D'Angelo Russell with Karl Anthony Towns. And then Cleveland has 2 point guards in Darius Garland, Colin Sexton. The Hawks have Trae Young. So I feel that if the Bulls can get lucky in the lottery, move up to 5, or if they can trade up to 5, they can definitely snag LaMelo. And as you said, you'd make a strong case for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I also feel like they have various assets who brought some stuff to the table this season, but aren't going to be beneficial in the long run with big contracts and age, like Otto Porter Jr., Chris Dunn, and Thaddeus Young. All 3 of those players, they've performed well this season, but not to the level that we wanted them to. And on top of that, they are good trading assets. We can trade 2 or all of those players to get a young player from this year or last year's draft, as well as a draft pick from one of the top 5 teams who after they figure out the drafting order. Yeah. I feel like
I honestly feel that, as I said, the Bulls have outstanding talent even this year, but it was just the head coach situation for you guys. Jim Boylan, who did you guys fire before? Do you know before Jim Boylan was?
I don't know exactly, but I know the management has been all over the place these last couple of years, and I think that if they get a coach who's able to develop all the players, the young core that they have, chemistry will just come by itself. I just feel like they need to find a coach who can fit right in and will just click. But that's kind of one of the main issues. And once these kind of things get settled, I feel like the Bulls in the next 5 years will definitely be contenders.
I completely agree. I feel Jim Boylan was not the right coach for young players. If it were a team of veterans who, they're used to being pushed, that's fine. But Boylan's like just his aggressive attitude and like just the way he would push the young players, they needed time to develop. And I don't know, it just wasn't a good pairing. I feel they need to find a coach like Atlanta found Lloyd Pierce. He developed the 76ers players as an assistant. If they can find another assistant from a team that like, I don't know, like a Warriors assistant who developed Steph or something like that, or like a Bucks assistant, that would be a good fit in Chicago. And I feel they already took a good step by acquiring the Denver assistant general manager, I think, because he was the one who drafted Jokic, Nurkic, all those young players that Denver has. So they're taking the right steps to, being contenders, as you said.
Yeah, on top of that, there was some animosity between Zach LaVine and the head coach this year, and there are various clips all over the internet during a really close game. They called a timeout, and they were going to sub out Zach LaVine, even though he had like 40 points that night, and there was a lot of kind of argument going on with the bench, and that was just one of the many instances where the coaching and the players kind of were butting heads. I feel like if they get a coach who's able to trust the young players, like a younger coach, then I feel like the players will excel and so will the rankings.
Definitely.
I don't think that this year, if the season had continued, I don't think that they would have made it to the playoffs. And but I feel like in the next few years they'll definitely skyrocket in the rankings.
I completely agree because I honestly feel it wasn't an on-the-court issue. It was more off-the-court issues which held the Bulls back this year. Lauri Markkanen's come out saying he got like way less touches than he did in the first 2 years where he actually played really well. As you said, Zach LaVine had major issues with the coach, and he's a number one option that just doesn't sit well because there needs to be trust. In all the successful NBA teams we have seen, there's been a level of trust between coaches and players. So it definitely, if they can find that young coach that can lead the Bulls, like they found like in the 90s when they found Phil Jackson, if they can make that right pairing with the number one option and their coach, the Bulls are completely set up for success talent wise. And if they have a good draft pick coming in this year, it's looking good for the Bulls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with the last few years since we've been like waiting since they've been tanking the last couple of seasons.
Mhm.
Us Bull fans have been kind of wanting that they like start showing out like the old Bulls did and
Yeah.
how they started making it to the playoffs at least, let alone conference finals or conference semifinals.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like, yeah, like you were saying, I feel like after this year's draft, they'll, if they pick someone who is going to fit the team and not just based off of draft stock, then I feel like they'll definitely, they can make it to seventh or eighth seed, maybe even pushing it to sixth
Exactly.
seed.
I think since the Derrick Rose era, I think the Bulls realized it's time to tank. They've done that well. They just have that one last piece that they need. Either a like semi-talented player from this draft and a good head coach, then the Bulls. Same with the Hawks. I'm gonna just say it. The Hawks and the Bulls, top two teams from the East in the next few years.
Yeah, just looking at the mock draft, they also have the 47th pick,
Yeah.
and four picks above that is Cassius Stanley, who
Oh.
was a top five player in the 2018 or 2019 draft class,
Hmm.
and sorry, high school
High
draft
school, yeah,
class, and
yeah.
yeah, and he played really well for Duke. I just feel like he wasn't really standing out at Duke
Mhm.
because he went there just to win a championship, but not necessarily just to increase his draft stock. But I feel like if they can, he's only four picks away, and usually the second round picks aren't always confirmed as much as the first round is. And so I feel like if they can get Cassius Stanley, he's an athletic freak who will be able to run up the court with the young guys. And on top of that, he's also a solid perimeter and mid range shooter. So I feel like if they can pick him up, he can be similar to what Cam Reddish is to the Atlanta Hawks and what he was at Duke. I feel like he'll fit pretty well, especially coming in the second round.
I agree. And the second round, we've seen in so many drafts in the past, you can get so many steals. So, and
Yeah.
Cassius Stanley has the potential to be that steal because, as we saw in the draft where like Jokic got drafted, he was in the second round. Now he's one of the best, arguably the best center in the league. So, you never know. The Bulls can definitely utilize that 47th pick. Another way they can use it is obviously if they want to trade up, as we were talking about with getting LaMelo. That's where the 47th pick could be used. But definitely if they can get Cassius Stanley, honestly, any team that gets Cassius Stanley, he's going to be a solid 15, 16 point guy per night in like the next 2-3 years. So, all right, thank you so much, Kyle.
Pleasure being here.
And with that, we wrap up this special episode of the NBA The Week That Was. Please let me know how you found it with having a guest on the episode. I thought I would bring a new element to the show, and if you have any feedback regarding that, please let me know. Also, if you're a fan in the comments, if you want to hop on the show and help me out with one of the episodes, by all means, please reach out to me through the comment section and we'll figure out a way to communicate and get you on an episode. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly series here on the NBA The Week That Was.